Hello everyone, it's Michele here from the Creative Cove. Thanks for joining me today. Today is another little sketch of Christmas inspiration, little forest animals on some scrap watercolor paper. I had some fun creating these guys and using an HB pencil here, and I'm just going to start sketching them out. So I start with this kind of oval shape, which is the head, and draw in the neck. Obviously, these guys are not anatomically correct. These are more of a cartoon-inspired type drawings. I give them a little round body, little whooshy tail, and I slowly start building up the form. I want to start with the basic shape of the animal before I start putting in any kind of fun accessories. So you want to make sure that you get the leg, the hind leg right, have the kind of reverse knee that is drawn here. So you want to make sure you get the hind leg to make it look more like a deer, and then the back leg behind it. So when you're drawing the legs and the feet, you always want to make sure that the back hoof is shorter looking than the front hoof so that it looks like it's behind. Here I'm just feeling out the front. This gets erased because he's a little bit scrawny in the front. They do have some meaty, even though they have very thin, dainty legs, there is a lot of muscle there. So I kind of bulk up the front of his leg a little bit. So here I am looking for my eraser. I am voice recording this over top again, simply because there's just too much noise happening in the house. And then I realized the eraser I just grabbed is really dirty, and it's leaving a mark behind. This is a kneaded eraser, so unfortunately it left a little mark behind, but it gets covered. It's not noticeable. And again, these are just scraps, just fun tags. I like to sketch a whack load of them out to begin with, and then I kind of paint them all at once. So by the time you get to the fourth or fifth one, the paint is dry on the first one. So I'm putting a scarf in because I do love my little forest animals wearing a scarf. It just screams cozy to me. Here I am grabbing the clean part of the eraser so I don't mark up again. And you're going to see me erase quite a bit in and out here as I'm feeling my way through the sketch. And I do recommend that you erase and play with different shapes and different clothing and kind of build up the characters you like. You know, warm fuzzy sweaters, a sweater vest, a Christmas vest, maybe a hat. Just keep playing until you kind of develop the characters you like. So I play with the nose and mouth here. It's not definitive. I like to give them a kind of fun little smile because they are cartoonish. I give her some ears and some antlers. Now, I don't know much about deer. I do believe that the females do get some antlers. Here I drew more of a moose, so I scaled it down a little. A big moose in a big sweater would be adorable. I haven't done a moose yet, but it would be the same principle, only on a bigger scale with some more significant antlers. Here's the back antler going in, and you want to make them curve away from the head. I like the look of the 3 nodules on the antlers, so I redrew this one back to 3. And so you see I'm erasing a lot, sketching a lot, just feeling my way out and feeling my way through, putting in some more details than just kind of feeling my way into the details. Here I am putting some leg warmers on. They're so skinny little legs. You think, how do they survive these cold winters here in Muskoka? We have a lot of deer. I usually see them more in the winter, probably just because they're easier to spot through the white snow. But I see them almost daily jumping around, and so I couldn't resist drawing a little deer for Christmas. Here I'm just lightening the lines. I'm happy with the sketch, so I take my kneaded eraser. It's a kneaded eraser. It's very soft. It's great for watercolor. And just lightening the lines so that they don't, in case I change the shape or something with the watercolor, they don't show up as much. So decided here to do a deer face on. So I'm putting in the ears here and realized I made them more like a cat, so we'll be changing those in a minute. Again, lots of sketching and feeling out. So as you're sketching and you make mistakes, don't worry about it. That's the whole process of a sketch, is to feel your way through it, to capture what it is you want. So as you can see, I've been drawing a very long time, and I still sketch, erase, start again until I get what I'm looking for. So here I've realized the ears need to be a lot softer. And then I'm going to shape her head towards me so she's facing right at us. So kind of a bit of an oval with some ears at the top. And then I think I'll put a hat on her. So here I am putting the band of the hat, and it's going to have her ears kind of poke through the hat. And obviously the antlers have to poke through as well. And then I'll put a back of the hat on, and as you can see, as I get to the antler, I stop and then come out the other side because the hat is tucked behind her antlers. If you draw that line right through the antler, you're telling the viewer that the hat is in front of it, when meanwhile the antlers would be in front because they're poking through the hat. I just kind of give her a little nose here, kind of shaped like a cow nose. And then I'm going to start on her body, and I haven't quite decided what to do with her body yet, so I'll be feeling that out. Of course, I put the scarf in because I love the scarf. I haven't decided if I'm putting her sideways or just straight on, and here I decide to give her just a tiny twist in the body just so we can see that cute little tail poking out the back. I love the little tails as they twitch. They're eating and their little tails shimmer, and they're really cute. A little character there. Again, putting in the legs, so making sure that the front legs will be longer looking than the back legs in order to get that perspective, that the back of her body is obviously further away than the front of her body in this perspective. I also resketched that line to give her a little bit more of a body and leg muscle definition. Again, not accurate, not to scale or anything. This is really just a cartoony sketch, and I'm not a cartoon artist. I find simplifying things can be challenging, which is why I like doing these little sketches. It teaches me to kind of let loose on the detail and simplify things a little, just to imply that it's a deer without going into enormous amounts of detail. Just cleaning up some lines, reshaping that hind leg, making sure I get the back leg and the belly line, so that the back end of the deer looks like it's attached to the front end of the deer. And then I'm going to give her leg warmers. Keep those scrawny little legs, lower legs, warm. And just cleaning up some lines, and then I'll take my kneaded eraser and lighten those dark lines that I just put in. Okay, so I'm happy with it, and then I just slowly just put a little pressure on and erase the line a little bit so it's not quite so dark. So now I've got my two tags. Here's the kneaded eraser. It's a Stedler. I just wanted to show you really quick. They're great for watercolor paper. Okay, so here's the paints. And again, with my Mei Liang 52 color set and my what number was that paintbrush? It's a number 2 Craft Ammo paintbrush. It's a bit of a fine liner. I really like it. I can get into those funny little details. I did do a product review on both the paints and the paintbrushes. They're really nice to use for these little craft projects. So here I'm going in with some permanent red, which is my favorite red to use at Christmas time. And what's nice about doing a few of these is you can work one solid color all the way through, and then come back, and then you apply your next color. So you can just motor along with these. And again, you can choose any colors you like. You know, maybe like purple for Christmas or blues. You can also paint the backgrounds. I like to keep mine relatively simple and really focus on the animal itself. But you could play with, let's say you have some really beautiful Christmas music paper or something. You could paint these right onto the Christmas music paper, assuming that it's not too delicate and it can handle some water. But you can really be versatile here and have some fun. I hope these videos that I've been releasing lately give you some inspiration. You'll notice that my lines are not very neat. I still have the shakes from the medication I'm taking for this hip infection, but you'll have to just bear with me on the shakes. I'm doing my best. I do appreciate all the kind words you guys have given me in this little medical journey of mine. But I'm really excited to get back into crafting and painting again. I miss it. So these little series are something I was just sitting in my chair and doing some sketching of forest animals that I see on a daily basis here. And I want to just make them little characters for Christmas. I thought that would be fun. So this is, I believe, my third one. There's a bear, there's deer, and what else did I do? Oh, a snowman, which is not really a forest animal, but still in winter inspiration and Christmas inspiration. I think maybe I might do a Santa next. I don't know. See where it takes me. Let me know. Is there something you want to see in a character? Let's do it. So I'm just painting the lines in for the leg warmers, and you can see that the line doesn't go straight across. It goes in a curve, which helps imply that the fabric wraps around the deer's leg as opposed to just sits flat on the deer. And we talk about contour lines all the time, and there's that tiny little detail really helps create the illusion of form. So here I'm just going in with a darker brown. Let me see if I can find that brown color. I believe it is raw umber that I'm using here. And I'm just using different levels of saturation. So this is a wet on dry technique where the paper is dry and my brush has wet paint. You'll see there's a tiny little white outline to begin with because that red is still just a little damp. And now I'm starting to fill it in because I realize that the red is now dry. So you do want to make sure, if you don't want it too muddy, that you take your time in between the color layering. And that's what's nice about doing several at once, is if I had gone back to the first one I painted, it would be completely dry and I wouldn't have to concern myself about it. So I'm putting in a little bit more color saturation here. I want to imply some furry texture. The top end of the coat, I decided on the deer is going to be dark and the underbelly will be light. I'm not sure if that's true of the deer around here. I think they're pretty much all a kind of reddish brown here. They're huge deer here. I'd say they're almost 2 meters tall, not including the antlers. They are big deer. The deer out west where I used to visit my parents were really, really tiny deer. So everywhere in the world you're going to have a new variety of deer. So here I am putting his little forehead in. I just kind of push the color around, see where I like it. Painting his ears in. I just kind of pushing them around a little bit, feeling my way through. And then at one point here, I realized his head kind of has a rat head shape. I don't like the shape of his head. It takes me a few minutes to realize, and then I go into the red here and I'll draw a new line of red and curve it a little bit. So his scarf gets a little thicker, but he's got a little bit more of a deer head shape than a solid round shape. So you can see you can change things as you go. Sometimes you don't always see them in the sketch. A bit darker saturation of that, was it raw umber in the antlers. And I'll play back and forth with the saturation of the paint. I don't use a huge variety of color. I stick to the same color palette, and that's true throughout the series of the deer and the bear, and potentially any other little critters I design. Here I'm removing some paint. I think that deer around here have a bit of a white crescent or a white under their mouth, but I just wanted to maybe remove a little bit of paint and do a lighter shade there, and I come back and play with that some more. But it's a bit wet now, so I'm going to move on to this guy. I'm going to rub the dark right through and then leave an indication of under his nose and forehead here that it's a little bit lighter. So I won't paint that in just yet. And paint in his antlers. and his ears. And what's really fun is you just take your time building up these little characters. So you do want to make sure that red is dry. Otherwise you start losing the detail, which can be kind of charming as well. But in this case, I wanted something a little bit more defined. And I always have paper towel in my hand. You always want to keep something absorbent beside you working with watercolor to help control the amount of paint and water that you have in your brush. And once you find a brush you like, just keep using that brush and you get used to it. Because I've used other brushes and I find I don't like them as much. I'm used to how much water this brush can hold, and so now I'm more confident with it. You just paint down the legs. I'm just going to rub some of that out. You can do a dry on dry technique, which makes this kind of really cool uneven texture, which I've done in other videos. But it is a lot of fun to play with different techniques when it comes to watercolor. I'm just painting in his back leg here. I'm going to add a rub, just a little bit of color on the outside of those lines, just so that it looks like it's painted in. I'm going to go with a much darker saturation here. Do his hoofs. I'll put some black ink in the hoofs too. I want them kind of dark and grounded later. But I do paint them in with a darker brown. Go back with the dark brown in a few spots. Start really playing with the texture of the fur here. This is a lot of fun to do. Just kind of dotting the paint around. Some of the paint's still wet, some of it's dry, so you get different looks. And you can see I'm going straight into the paint. So highly saturated pigment. And you can see the range of browns you get just by adding different water. It's the same brown I've been using, but you can get a range from a lighter raw umber to a dark raw umber just by using that one color. So when you're painting things with lots of details, say like, I don't know, wood and sunlight and harsh shadows, then you can really play, because then you can add other colors to create different values. So you could add green to this brown and blues to the brown and create a whole range of browns and really play with that. And some watercolor artists are fantastic at capturing light and dark shadow contrasts by mixing colors like that. It's really beautiful. I am not that watercolor artist. I just like to dabble. I don't have the patience to paint details, real significant details. I do in acrylics, but not in watercolor paint. I'd really just like to experiment with watercolor paint. I like the looseness. I love the fact that it dries unpredictably. And that's the charming part about watercolor I love. So I don't do fine art with watercolor paint. I don't do high-end details or hour-long paintings. I'll do that with acrylics, not with watercolor, but that's just me. I know what I like and I know what I don't like at this point in my life. But again, I highly recommend trying watercolor. It is really fun to play with. Some people can find it very frustrating at first, but I think the secret to watercolor is just let yourself try it. Have fun, experiment with it. Don't overthink it. Don't force it. Just let it do what watercolor does. And the more you practice, the more adventurous you get, and the more you'll want to experiment with it, and then you'll fall in love with it, and then you won't get anything else done. Because all you'll want to do is watercolor. So I'm just putting some, I think here, I'm putting the green in of the little leg warmers, which I think are so adorable. I thought I have to add some color to the bottom. What can I add? And then I went right back to the 80s and thought, yeah, leg warmers. I wore them all the time when I was a kid. And you can't beat festive leg warmers. So again, you want to make sure you do the contour line. Don't go straight across. They don't have to be perfect. Nobody's studying all the details. even if they, you overlap it or you miss one, it doesn't matter. It's just about having fun. But do curve them, and that way it will look like they're around the hoof. So here I'm using they're dry now, of course, and I'm using my Micron pen 03, and it's a waterproof archival ink, and it's great for watercolor because it does not bleed. So if I wanted to go back in, or I miss some detail or want to add something, I don't have to worry about the pen leaking. I love the look of outlining, so I outline everything and put all my little details in that I want. Again, this is a cartoony type video drawing, so it's really just simple shapes. When you're drawing the scarf here, you want to remember what piece is in front. If you draw all the way around the scarf, you kind of ruin the illusion of the scarf being tied around the neck. So you want to pay attention to that detail of which piece folds in front, and I'll show you again on the other one. I'm just putting little details in. I'm shaky here, so I make a double line in his leg warmer, but it doesn't bother me. I don't get upset. I just go with it and make it look like it was meant to be there. I'm just putting a little contour lines in the leg warmers to keep the ink and the outline consistent. And then I just put in a little detail in his face, so I like her to have eyelashes. So I think maybe this is the mommy and the other one's the baby. Draw on the nose and darken that a bit. You can have so much fun creating all the little details that make these characters your very own. And what a lovely little tag this would make, or a Christmas card that you've hand painted, and somebody just is going to love it because you've made it. It's handmade. Nothing beats handmade gifts, in my opinion anyways. So I've knitted a bunch of socks this year, and everybody's getting socks. I'll maybe show you in a video of what I've been knitting. I don't know if this channel, I do like to make videos about all kinds of different mediums and stuff that I like to make, and it is called the Creative Cove for a reason, because that was my full intention, was to make a video about all different kinds of crafts and techniques. Here's the Posca pen going in. So Posca is an acrylic marker, which is nice and opaque. It sits right on top. Colors, other than ink will bleed through, but watercolor, acrylic, things like that, they don't bleed through this marker. This marker sits right on top, which is nice. And of course, if you've been following my channel, you know I can't resist white polka dots on red when it comes to Christmas time. I just think they're so cute. So here I'm going to do this one. I could have skipped and paused it, but if you're interested to watch, and just outline the same thing again, give her a smile, and just keep drawing her in. Making any adjustments I might want to make. My lines are not perfect. They don't outline perfectly. One, because I'm a bit shaky, and two, I just don't care too much about it. So here's the scarf. So you can see I stop the line there and go down behind and then curve up, because that piece I'm drawing right now is the piece that's folded in front of her neck. So if I had drawn the circle going all the way around, I'm now telling you that the scarf is not tied, and both of the ends of the scarf are tucked behind the loop, which is not how you tie a scarf. So it's important, those little details. And you'll remember that because of the original drawing you drew. You're going to know you put that detail in. Even if you can't see it anymore, you remember how you drew that scarf, and you'll just repeat the process. Her little cornered back knee. So I would probably maybe do 5 or 6 of these together and have a bunch ready to go, and then maybe do 5 or 6 of the bear. And they're, again, using up just scrap watercolor paper. This is not high-end quality paper either. I wouldn't use my arches to do this, the super expensive cotton paper, which is absolutely beautiful, by the way. If you're going to get serious about Watercolor, I highly recommend using the Arches watercolor paper. It comes in different weights, but it's stunning and it makes a huge difference. It takes a little getting used to because it's highly absorbent because it is cotton, but it sure does make a huge difference when you're putting in the effort for watercolor. These are just little scraps to use up. And here I'm putting some white dots in her back. And then I'll take my finger and kind of remove a little bit so they're a little bit more subdued. And the babies have the little white spots. So I thought they wouldn't have those antlers, of course, but I thought the little white spots were kind of cute. I'm going to use some distressed oxide here. And I think that is what color is that? The brushed corduroy is what I'm using. I just rub the edges. I like to tone down the white just a little, not too much. So while that is wet, I will rub some of it into the card, but not all the way in. And then I realize I'm going over my nice watercolor paper. So I'll move that out of the way. I'll do that for both. So it just kind of softens the edges, but I still want some white in there because there's white in the deer and their outfits. So here I'm going to ground the animal so it looks like she's standing on the ground. And of course, put my signature in. Always sign your work. That way, one, they know it's handmade and not commercially made. And it gives you credit for the work you've done. And it's a sense of pride. I painted this, I'm signing it. So I like to put just a little something in the background, kind of helps kind of fill in that negative space just a little bit, but you don't have to do this. You could put music notes, you could put stickers, whatever you have. I just find it gives it a little twinkle. I'm going to punch some holes here for my ribbon. You can reinforce these holes, of course, but for me, I'm just going to feed some ribbon through there. Little scrap pieces left over from previous Christmas projects. And I bend it in half, feed it through if I can, but I'm so shaky here. You can see that I'm shaking. Feed it through, and then just feed the tails through that loop, and then it's a tie-on tag. That's the way I like to tie my tags. And this one's just a gold and white rope, little pieces I have left. I think this piece I used around a Christmas tree. Wrapped a cone and covered it in the knot just for something fun. And then I glued it to a candlestick, so that was another little craft. So there we go. There they are, the two we did. And the two I did previously, just to kind of feel out my character. And there's some fun tags for Christmas. I hope this video gives you some inspiration. I hope you have fun painting. Take care, everyone. Bye.